And so I'm ready to go. What I would like to do quickly is to thank Dr. Shubhi for the opportunity. She believes I have something worthy to say. And so I want to say it to my best. I want to say to everybody about her, I think you are privileged to have a genius, literal genius in your midst. And you ought to glean everything from her that you can while you can. I hope you can hear that. All right. And to Atharva, I am grateful for the privilege to speak. And I hope all of you find it a worthwhile experience. Now, I'd like you to do one thing for me as we begin. I'd like you to take that deep cleansing breath. Instruct your body and your mind to become calm, quiet, and still. And let's learn together, all right? Okay, so the first thing I would like to begin with you is this comment, and it sets the stage for all we're going to talk about. And it says, be wary of the future, for the only place it can be discerned is in the ravenous hunger of the past. Wow, what a comment. But it's true. Unless there had been some persons hungry to learn and to produce before us, we would have nothing to build on. And we have a tremendous amount to build on now. So I'm quite excited about the things that we're going to learn together tonight. One of the things that I'm absolutely convinced of as I talk to you about digital transformation in business is that it didn't just start today. We have been digital since we came to Earth, and our minds are digital processors. And they're going to continue to be developing. And the more we develop, the more we're going to develop instruments of technology to serve our interest more. I hope that makes sense to you. The other thing that I'm convinced of is that the future of India is not going to be dedicated to the brain trust of the higher level learning centers, but it's going to be amongst you who sit here who are hungry to produce what has never been produced before. I'm speaking to those of you who are gathered. I'm hoping that you are hungry to produce what has never been produced before for the benefit of people. Because people need those things that are locked inside you that are waiting to get out. I hope that makes sense to you. Okay. All right. So as we gather together to talk about digital transformation, think about this. In your short lives, you have seen television by itself becomes something you never quite imagined. For those of us who've watched sci-fi shows growing up, we saw them talking into things on their hands. And now what are we doing? We're talking to things in our hands or on our arms. We're able to have that kind of communication. We are a sophisticated, developed group for where we've come from. Now, there are probably others who are as capable and competent as us, but because we don't know them yet, we'll work on our own until we can get there. I hope you can feel that. Okay, so one of the things that I want to talk to you about early on is that the integrity of digital transformation may not be the best that it can be because there is a thing called corporate espionage. People are always going to be trying to steal your trade secrets and put their name on it. Excuse me. Because that's the way this business works. All right, so in a report from Science Direct 2014, they revealed that $445 billion were going to be stolen every year by corporate espionage. And just a few years later, they doubled that amount. And now it's believed to be in the trillions of dollars in terms of theft. Give me a second. Okay, so the stakes are quite high in the digital era because everybody wants to have the next best thing. There was a time when there was no Facebook, no Twitter, and no technology that we could share with each other like this. I apologize, my throat is going away. But excuse me,
Please take
we
your time.
have been
Yes.
building slowly. And so we have technologies now that blow our mind. And why I believe that's important to India is I believe India is poised to be the world leader in technology in the next decade. You have gone to the moon twice this calendar year. There are nations, digital transformation didn't just begin overnight. We once communicated with each other by painting on cave walls. We use drums, we use fire, we use smoke. We have done everything. Hi, Dr. Shubhi. We have done everything that we can to communicate with each other better and faster because we believe that the person who can communicate better and faster can make more money. And when we really get down to it, profit is the name of this game. People want to profit faster and they want to use more technology so that they can have as few people on the payroll as possible. And that is happening in front of our eyes daily. Okay. So the people who are invested in looking at this transformation as it's taking place, I mean, we've gone from trying to invent the wheel and fire to inventing ships and then cars and telephones and telegraphs and televisions. And so we're doing a lot of things that keep developing. And so there was once a time we didn't have the motion picture. Somebody drew on paper and they drew consecutive images that when you flip the pages, it looked like it was a moving picture. And from there, we began to get cameras. And we got cameras that began to do moving pictures. And then we had movies. And so now people in their basements are creating movies by digital instruments that come out as good as big time Bollywood, Hollywood productions. I know you know that's the truth because there are children in basements who are creating movies that can compete with the industrial leaders in this digital transformation in business age. All right. There are challenges with this, though. I want to talk to you about a total enterprise reinvention. And this is something that is produced and put forth by a company named Accenture. They consider themselves the world leader in technological development because they are one company out of the 8% of companies around the world who are doing this total enterprise reinvention. And they're saying that the other 92% are only doing enough to stay in business. I believe that. Here's the deal. They're proposing that in order to stay ahead of the game, or what I call staying ahead of the curve, is to be able to plan for what might happen before it happens and put that into place so that if anything like COVID were to happen again, or any other kind of either global natural disaster or war, your business does not have to die because you have opportunity to continue because you planned to continue before the disaster took place. I hope that makes sense to everybody. All right, so think about this. Who would you rather be connected to in terms of a global company? Would you rather be involved with a company that is planned for the continuity of its operation? Or would you like to be part of a company that doesn't know what they will do when that happens? I know the answer to that question.
The one which is planned.
Of course. So here's the thing. We should be doing this even with our personal and professional lives. Being proactive about everything is better for us. Now, this is an incidental. Even in your relationships, you should be having conversations with the people that you are involved with in such a way that you go over all the things that could go wrong and establish a series of consequences for what could happen if one of you violates your agreement and they go wrong. You need to have that in place. You don't need to wait till that problem comes up. Have that agreed upon and signed on what will happen if that goes wrong. We have to do that. And we must never stop talking. We must never stop talking because some of us sitting here have brilliant ideas that just need to come out of our brains through our mouths so that somebody else can hear it because they might be able to be the one to run with it. Does that make sense to you? Okay. All right. So as we continue to look at this, Accenture says that the people who are making up 92% of the Earth's global companies, that they're going to fall behind. And what he's really saying to them, if you don't be careful, we're going to gobble you up. And when they gobble up more companies, all that means is they're going to put into practice the total enterprise reinvention system there so that they can make those companies competitive after they own them. Does that make sense to you? Should we all be trying to do that? We ought to all be thinking in ways to go ahead of the curve if we want to compete. I believe we should. Okay, so We're already acknowledging that the driving force is profit. We're acknowledging that profit is so extensive that people are willing to steal for it. So we have to plan for what we know of as cybersecurity. I mentioned to friends some time ago that in the early 2000s, I was saying to security systems, if you're not planning redundant backup systems all across the planet, your one little hub could get taken out in a minute, and then you'll be standing there with your mouth stuck out about wondering what to do when you could have had all those redundant systems across the planet and you wouldn't have missed a beat. But if you don't plan for things, they can happen in all of it. Well, I mean, when we have natural disasters or terrorist disasters, we can't wait till they happen to be able to know what we're going to do. So we have to know, especially with security, how can we protect our security systems? We have to do so by having our specialists, our technicians who plan ways to protect those systems before they're even invaded. All of you know, sitting here looking at me, you know that people's identities are being stolen every day and corporate secrets are being stolen every day, to the point that some corporations are putting things available to be stolen that have no value so that they don't get caught with the things that they really hold value being stolen. I mean, there's all kinds of plans to work with this, but unless we're having conversations that plan for it, these things are going to happen and we're going to be in trouble and not know what to do about them. All right. So there are some, and this is tedious and a bit time consuming, but I need to go over it with you. There are some principal assumptions and implications of digital transformation. And I hope these don't bore you. They bored me putting them together, but they're necessary for you to know. All right. That technology is a driver of change, and we know we can't deny that. The assumption is that digital transformation assumes that technology, particularly digital technology, is a key driver of change and innovation, and we know that to be true. The implication is that organizations need to continually adopt and adapt to new technologies to stay competitive and relevant. I don't know how many of you have read the book, Who Moved My Cheese? Anyone? You heard of the book before? All right, it is about two mice who were the head of their village. And they had a company that they brought in cheese from their mining system, and everybody was fat and happy. Everybody had plenty all the time. Cheese was the commodity. Cheese was the currency. Cheese was the way of life. And one day they went to work and there was no cheese. And so they were terrified because there was no more of what everybody depended on. They went back. They told the village, we have no more cheese. And so they continued to go back and continued to go back until one finally says, they better bring my cheese back because I'm not coming here looking for it anymore. Well, he got left behind because his friend went on to venture beyond where they were, and he began to find cheese that could be mined again and bring back to be supportive of his village. Now, even they were too late in thinking about that. When we get secure in a thing the way it is, it's about to get messed up. Now, I'm always going to be correlating this thing we're talking about to relationships. If you don't plan to keep your relationship fresh and moving for the both of you or whoever's involved with you, then it's going to grow stale one day and one of you is going to look up and the other one's going to be gone. And we don't want to go through that. Nobody wants to go through that. We certainly don't want to go through that with corporate enterprise, because there's been many a company bought, I'm going to say stolen, but bought overnight with stockholder deals they never knew was even coming. And those CEOs looked around and they didn't have a job anymore because they weren't up to date on what was going on with them. All right. Number two, data is a strategic asset. Now, you know that's true because the more data that is being gathered right now, the more people are able to determine what we are likely to do with our money and what we're likely to purchase. It's really quite smart to put that into play. The more we know about a consumer, the more we can provide the consumer what the consumer wants. That's just the way it is. And the more information we have that will drive us to that, the better off we are. So data is a valuable strategic asset and a key enabler for digital transformation. The implication is that organizations must focus on collecting and analyzing and leveraging data to gain insights and make informed decisions and enhance corporate or customer experiences. Yeah, if your customer is not happy, your customer will shop someplace else. If your partner is not happy, they may shop somewhere else. So we got to stay ahead of the curve here. All right. Number three, customer-centered focus. Digital transformation assumes a customer-centric approach, prioritizing delivery of personalized and seamless experiences. Yeah, I mean, we have gotten to the place where we expect what we have paid for online to show up instantly, even if it has to come from companies like Amazon, where they come over your house with one of these little hovercrafts and they drop it right at your front door. We expect things to be instant like that. Now, that is an unusual expectations among human beings because we know that that can't be sustained, because there'll come a time it will be so usual nobody will care. But in the short term, everybody wants instant delivery of what they want. I paid my money, give me what I paid for, bring it to me right now. Okay, and customers feed on that at the moment, so companies are going to try and do that for them. The implication is that businesses need to understand and respond to an evolving customer needs, preferences, and behaviors. No doubt, that's a fact. All right, they need to be agile and adaptable. The business environment is dynamic and organizations must be agile and adaptable to change. Digital transformation, as the implication, involves creating a culture of agility and fostering the ability to quickly respond to market shifts and emerging opportunities. COVID has become the prime example for all that we've really taken a look at over the last few years, because it presented a situation where you couldn't go to restaurants everywhere that you wanted to, because governments were not allowing them to be open. And so people had to do all of their food prep and deliver it to persons who came to their door, or deliver it by car to families' doors. And so we're so very used to that now that many people depend on that instead of going out anymore. And so business can shift like that overnight. And we have to be ready for that shift, or we'll sit aside and say, well, my business just closed up. And it's just because we're not thinking and we're not teaching people to think. We're teaching people to think it's going to always be the same way all the time. And life is just not like that. All right. Cross-functional collaboration. It means that functional collaboration for successful digital transformation must be in place. And breaking down departmental barriers is the implication. Fostering collaboration between IT, marketing, operations, and other functions is imperative. Now, people depend on that instead of going out anymore. And so business can shift like that overnight. And we have to be ready for that shift, or we'll sit aside and say, well, my business just closed up. And it's just because we're not thinking and we're not teaching people to think. We're teaching people to think it's going to always be the same way all the time. And life is just not like that. All right. Cross-functional collaboration. It means that functional collaboration for successful digital transformation must be in place. And breaking down departmental barriers is the implication. Fostering collaboration between IT, marketing, operations, and other functions is imperative. Now, I want to tell you what Accenture does. Accenture almost makes sure that everybody who works for their company can do every part that their company needs done. Now, there are exceptions. In the high-tech areas of those companies, everybody can't do that. But in terms of managing tasks, they want everybody to be able to do what everybody else can, because here's something we know. And from my own practice, I can tell you, I have a practice where I have one person sit in a chair, and I have 4 people assigned to carry that chair a distance. And it's no problem when everybody's there to carry the chair a distance with the person in it. But as soon as they get back to where they began, I said, oh, I'm so sorry, somebody called in sick. Now 3 people have to carry that chair with that person in it a distance. We come back, another person is going on vacation, now there's 2. Come back to last time and there's 1, and I can tell you what's about to happen. Technology is about to develop a system to move that chair, and people are no longer going to be necessary. So people are going to have to be involved in making sure that they stay necessary, but you can only stay necessary if you're continuing to be productive, and we need to add the word ultra productive at this point. All right. Continuous innovation speaks for itself. Security and privacy concerns are really optimal concerns. If you're not protecting your interests, somebody's going to be looking in on finding ways to take over your interests. Employee empowerment and skill development. Companies that don't empower their teams to do their best find that they're not able to do their best, and they need to be involved in doing that all the time. Because if you don't have a good employee workplace where people feel empowered to become their best selves, they will search for a place that will. And there's always a better place. But we want to always be that better place so people aren't hungry to leave. All right, ecosystem collaboration. Digital transformation often involves collaboration with external suppliers, partners, and stakeholders. The implication is that communication better be running very high, or that might not work out so well for everybody. Cultural change is fundamental to successful digital operations. And culture has a really broad context here. It's just not a diverse team. It means that the culture must be developed because it is known what that culture needs to be productive. So it could be a group of people who are all the same. It could be a diverse group of people, but they all need to be one culture when it comes to serving this company because everybody knows the identity of the brand and they know what is expected of them. The implication, organizations need to foster a culture that embraces change. Most of us don't like dealing with change because change means that I might have to do something different. I don't want to do anything different. I want to do it the same way I've always done it. I'm comfortable with that. Well, if you wear the same old clothes all the time because they're comfortable for you, and then you begin to associate with people who are wearing different kinds of clothes, you can continue to wear the clothes that you want. But if you're going to be functional in community that wants to grow together, then you're going to have to make some shifts sometime. You can't drive the car that you drove 50 years ago. It won't work in today's movement system. It just won't. And as we emerge toward we're having cars where you don't have to do anything but sit in them, and the navigation systems are under the car on the road, all you're going to be doing is programming where you want to go, lay back and take a nap and do what you do, because it's not going to be a steering wheel there anymore. This is just going to be a literal transportation system. And there are a lot of things coming like that down the road. I know India has a corporation of some kind like this militarily. Here in the United States, we have something called DARPA. And DARPA is that group that's always designing the next technological expertise in either weapon systems or in how to get people to organize themselves in order to deliver services. They're always doing that. They work intensely on that. Dr. Shubhi, you probably know as much about that as anyone where you are. But it is a system that has to be dealt with. Somebody's got to be thinking ahead of the curve. All right. Now, I've talked to you about Accenture a bit and the total enterprise reinvention.
So,
Right.
can I divert?
Sorry.
Can I divert the whole conversation towards startups?
I'm sorry, I didn't really hear you.
I said, can I divert the conversation towards startups?
To startups?
New startups. Correct. So, since we are talking about digital transformation, what do you think turning our attention to startup, where entrepreneurship is thriving in India these days? Entrepreneurship is at its peak in India. What advice would you offer to the aspiring students looking to embark the digital transformation journey and use this as their startup?
Okay. So there are a couple of things. Do you want to say some more?
Yes. No, that's it.
Okay. So there are a couple of things that are important. One is if you are literally intending to develop a startup, you don't talk to everybody about it. You only talk to the key stakeholders that are involved with you until you get a clear vision of what you intend to produce. You shouldn't be talking to anybody outside that group. Now, once you have that and you begin to realize what your needs are going to be to do the startup, and you've done the projections of what you'd like to earn over the first 5 years, then you have more information that you can share. But you need to be protecting that information with all that is in you. And I'm really saying, I'm going to say something toward the end of my presentation that says, you are sitting on the capacity to do that at not just a private personal level, but the national level. And so the more that people like you and others in your demographic can talk about these kinds of things that you believe are needed in your culture and in your cities and your towns, the more you can produce things that will be available to people that they need. But here's the thing. If you're not talking to the people who need the service you want to produce, you may produce something really quality, but they don't need it and they don't want it. So people have to be involved in conversation, not that you're going to tell them all of your business or what you want to do, but you need to know what people really need. And that has to be important to the people who are planning a startup. They have to know the people they intend to serve. They have to know the people they're going to work with, and they're going to have to develop such a trust factor for what's going on. Because if you don't build that trust in, and you don't have that kind of proactive agreement that I've talked to you about, that can become a mess. And you can have things like Zuckerberg saying somebody's tried to steal Facebook from him, or maybe he actually stole it himself, or things like Apple. I mean, those kinds of conversations go on all the time. We hear it in the movies more than any place. We found out in the last 5 years that the movie, The Matrix, was not written by the people that it was reported to have been written by when the movie first came out. And they had to pay the writer they had to pay that woman millions of dollars when she was able to prove that she wrote that piece of work. These things must be very carefully managed. We can't just let everything out from the beginning. You can't go and say, hey, we're going to start a startup. We're going to go to a certain place to do it. Y'all come, let's talk. That's foolish. You really do have to build it one step at a time. Now, if I didn't address everything that you said to me, please say it to me again because I want to make sure to do that.
No, I think I asked for an advice and it's enough. Now that you have mentioned about script writing in movies and everything, these days now that the artificial intelligence is taking, a higher lead, the creative people are, hidden somewhere because of that. Because AI is taking a step ahead, and even people like me, I'm not so good at creative things. But if I just go on and with the help of artificial intelligence, I can also be creative. I can also paint something. We just have to give command that draw this kind of scenery for me, and it comes out very well. So how, what is your take on this? That creativity is dying because of artificial intelligence.
Okay, that's a really good question, and people are dealing with it. You probably saw that our film production people were on strike for a long time and put all the productions of shows people were expecting to see. They're late. They're not going to get here for probably another 6 months into 2024. Here's my take. The only way to compete with companies that are going to use AI to produce all of their literary material is for teams of people to gather together to produce new companies that don't do that and then market themselves as people who still work with people to produce quality end products. Because people in the short term are going to, I'm going to use this word. I don't know if you're accustomed to this word where you live, but people here are pimps from time to time, and all they do is exploit people and things, to make profit. And I'm saying that this is still dependent upon people. It doesn't matter how many scripts AI writes. If people don't come to see those movies, that will end and we'll get back to people. So I'm saying to you that a group of young people from 15 to 25, maybe 30, banded together to make sure that they marketed that they're doing original script work themselves over against AI, they would draw the attention of a number of people who still want to support that kind of work. Because to be honest, nobody's really trying to support AI developed scripting. They're not, but it's being sold and it's being quietly sold and being used. And so nobody's raising a real big objection. But the people who really want to still produce quality film work, if they will band together and market themselves as the people who still do it originally with people, that will be quite a marketing sales tool.
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you for your question.
Sir, since we are diving so much into media, so I have one more question. So as a founder of Oscar Crawford Media, how would you see media playing a role in guiding humanity through this era of digital information?
Okay, I'm really sorry. I'm having a hard time hearing. Would you do it one more time for me?
Yes, I would repeat it. So as a founder of Oscar Crawford Media, how do you see media playing a role in guiding humanity through the area of digital information?
Oh, okay. That is a different monster, right? That's a different monster. What AI is going to be extremely good at is gathering data. And AI can gather data faster than humans can gather data. So having an internal processor script for gathering information and returning it through digital media is going to be really hard to compete with. Now, I'm still holding to the same premise. If people market themselves as gatherers of information and that they are not machines, they are not technology, they're the real human beings still grinding it out to produce quality material, I think people will want to support that. But in the short term, people are going to use AI to produce media like never before. And even to the point where actors are now challenged that AI can recreate one image of them and put it on AI created, generated bodies, and you don't even have to hire the actor.
Do you see media playing a role in guiding humanity through the area of digital information?
Oh, okay. That is a different monster, right? That's a different monster. What AI is going to be extremely good at is gathering data. And AI can gather data faster than humans can gather data. So having an internal processor script for gathering information and returning it through digital media is going to be really hard to compete with. Now, I'm still holding to the same premise. If people market themselves as gatherers of information and that they are not machines, they are not technology, they're the real human beings still grinding it out to produce quality material, I think people will want to support that. But in the short term, people are going to use AI to produce media like never before. And even to the point where actors are now challenged that AI can recreate one image of them and put it on AI generated bodies, and you don't even have to hire the actor anymore because the company thinks it already owns their image because they used it before in other projects. This is going to get a lot messier before it gets cleaned up. I promise you.
So I was very curious as to what Western countries, since you're from there, and what Western countries think of India or sees India in terms of digital transformation, considering UPI and many such immense innovations that India has brought to the world. Anyways, you have somehow covered it before in your speech, but I want to know a little bit more what Western countries has to say about it.
Okay, so you're getting to the end of my presentation already, and I'm pleased to go there because this is where I think India is perfectly positioned to change the world. All right, so I'm recommending to you that a startup group, come up with a plan to design an educational initiative that will teach what we regard common people how to create businesses all over the world in every language that can be conceived of. And if we need to use AI to do the language part, so be it. But what we want to do is what I'm recommending that you do, and I'm saying you, I hope the two of you take this idea and run crazy with it because there's a lot of opportunity here. What I'm saying to you is, I'm saying to you that whoever does this, you do not want government money to help you do it. You want money from people to help you do this because you want to generate something that will actually help people, speak to people, and empower them to learn how to sell fish in a better way. If they catch fresh fish every day, that they can get to the market on time when they know the most people are going to be there to want to buy fish. And they want to be able to know how to market their fish over against the competitors' fish because we're always going to be dealing with competition. But if a person is a farmer in a village, how can we teach that person to farm better, faster, so that his crop produce can get to the market sooner and people be excited about them showing up? Those are the kinds of things I'm talking about. Now, this is not simple because a lot of people are going to need to be talked to across the planet. So there'll need to be a team of information gatherers as far as we can reach out. And that's doable now. I mean, we all know people in places. We all know people. And so what I would like to see happen here is that as this organization would develop, that it develops in such a way is that, yes, it can be profitable to those of you who create it, but you position it in such a way is that people can afford to buy it, right? Across the world in whatever economy, that you will sell a license to different groups in different nations for them to be able to do the rest of it. You sell them a license and then they sell the product, but you have parameters on what they can charge no more than. And, to charge more than that, then they're in violation of your agreement. And so you'd have to look for somebody else there. I mean, this is vast if we could produce this. This would put India on the world stage in such a way that people would say, why didn't we think of that? It's because you weren't thinking about it. People are thinking about profit and not people. And people are more important than things. I'm going to do it again. People are always more important than things. And look, I don't know if you already have a copy of the speech or not, but I'll make sure that you get it because there are details here in how to strategize this. And the imperative is that you never allow it to be sold to a government, not even your own. This is a people's initiative that can grow across the earth. Now, here's the thing. You're going to have to be prepared to work this for 10 years yourself to prove that it's viable. And what that means is you're not going to be asking anybody for money but individuals. And then you're going to put into place those initiatives that you said you believe will work, and you need to prove that they will work. So if you're producing food by a garden, you need to prove that will work and that anybody can do it. Whatever you're creating, you need to be able to prove that anybody can do it. I don't know if you've ever seen the movie. It was about a little rat in Paris, and the theme of it was anybody can cook. Well, I can cook, so I almost agree. Anybody can cook, right? But anybody can do these things that you create. I believe this is one of the most powerful movements that could ever hit the earth. Now, here's the assumption. The assumption is, and I don't know if you know this word. Do you know the word Elysia? Okay, Elysia is that place where the wealthiest of the wealthy leave all of the poor behind and live in isolation. They still want the benefit of their labor, but they don't want to be anywhere associated with them. That's Elysia. And so they have medical equipment that keeps them healthy, and so they don't care about the people who serve them. All they care about is themselves. There's always going to be Elysia that fights back, because you would be something that Elysia cannot control, and Elysia would always be trying to position governments to take over what you're going to do. And so you're going to have to always be mindful to develop your strategy and your organization so that cannot happen. Now, as much as I'm saying that to you, there could be times that governments will impose upon people and try to take control of this. That's very, very possible, because we're living in a world where government wants more and more control, and people need to have as much control over their own individual lives as possible. I believe India could become a world leader here, and everybody that can see what you're doing is going to want to copycat it. And so whatever the world level trademark is for something like this, as soon as you have your idea, you begin to get some ideas on paper. And look, I'll consult with you for free, right? You get your ideas on paper and begin to initiate it. You need to protect it with everything that is in you, because people are going to want to steal it. And you got to be careful with the people that you have associate with you, because they will figure out a way, okay, I could sell this to some other people and make some money. And they're pretending to just be your friend and cooperate, and they're stealing your stuff all at the same time. You have to be careful and protect your interests. Does all that make sense to you?
Yes.
All right, Dr. Shubhi, I want to make sure that everybody can have the speech that wants it, because this I've gone into some detail about at the conclusion of the speech. So I would consider it wonderful if you can give that away to, let's just say, these two young women here. Give it to them. And,
yes,
and
Oscar, I'm listening to you very carefully, and every word which you are saying, or maybe you are mainly you are giving us the keywords. So you have the way you are talking and the way you are trying to make us realize that how things will be. That is very crisp. In simple words, you are trying to convey to us, and I'm trying to understand that what is your thought process on digital transformation, and how you think that this can go ahead in a very fruitful way. So those things I can see.
Okay. So that genie is out of the bottle. Digital transformation is happening so fast that only 8% of global corporations are going to be able to adapt to it, because everybody else is thinking it's unnecessary yet. And the people who are staying fresh with digital transformation will be able to exploit its, I'm using that word in all of its power, exploit all of its opportunities to the very best of their ability. Digital transformation is not going anywhere. I mean, the whole earth would have to die for it to die. And as soon as it comes back to life again, somebody's going to figure out how to do it all over again anyway. So we have to take advantage of what is available to us without making ourselves slaves to wanting more technology and rule out including people in the operation. That can work, because we're not going to move away from it. We're going to move closer to digital transformation, and people are going to be wanting to control data, and people are going to want to be using it to market people. And I'm saying you're going to have to do those same things. You're going to have to do what the 8% are doing, who are reinventing enterprise, and enterprise on the basis of knowing that only the cream of the crop are going to prosper. And they're right. They're going to prosper in unlimited ways. And so, Dr. Shubhi, thank you for prompting me to go further into that. This is going to need someone on your team, or someone's on your team, who are gifted in this area of expertise. You cannot do it with just, as beautiful as I think your minds probably are, you can't do it with your minds alone. You're going to need people. You're going to need people, and you're going to have to trust people, and you're going to have to find ways to always check on how you're trusting people, because this can work. This can work, but you have to always be diligent about making sure that everything is within the parameters that you set for it. you're going to have to be including digital transformation in that, because you want to be not just in the 8%, you want to be the company that created this and that you're the model for it wherever it spreads. But for 10 years, you would have to prove that it'll work. Anything further, Dr. Shubhi, you'd like me to say about that?
Correct. What you are saying is absolutely right. And I have a thought which I want to share with you, that though the digital transformation is there, and it is going now, what I see is that it is going haywire. It is there and it is huge, and in every aspect we want to have some kind of digital transformation or maybe some kind of innovation. So my question is that, is this digital transformation or innovation necessary at all the times? Maybe if you are going to buy milk, is it necessary to have some digital transformation or innovative way to purchase milk? Or can we go with our old traditional ways so that we can have a little work life balance? And even people who are working in an organization, they are from all age groups. So one thing I strongly feel is that there is new generation which is coming. There are people who are born with tablets and mobiles, and there are people who are still struggling with MS Word or MS Excel. So sometimes I find that in the last conference we had a panel discussion, and where Mr. Mayur Joshi has conveyed to us that for the digital transformation, it has to be a very slow sunset and a slow sunrise, so that parallelly we can have some old traditional methods plus we have little digital transformation as well, so that those who are old or maybe those who are not well versed with the skills can also enjoy the transformation, and they are not finally stuck up in a mess or maybe the technical errors or maybe some kind of corrupt files, and they are not able to understand what the data is. Because if we go parallelly on the cloud and having some traditional methods, definitely we have a backup of the data with us. And this is one challenge which I have seen in many organizations, and also at various places I've seen that suddenly some new app comes and we have to just migrate on that. And when we talk of India, 70% of the India is dwelling in villages, and if you see the kind of the quality of education over there, the digital literacy over there, so that is a big challenge that we are facing over here. Now my question to you is that, what is the best of the best practice that we can have with having digital transformation going successfully, that we can suggest to our students also, and keeping in mind that our students are from rural India and not just the urban area, and they are not fast learners, they don't have facilities, they don't have much of aid, but still they are forced to have like digital money, cashless banking and all those things. So what is the best practice that you would suggest us so that we can have some
Okay.
good outcome of this digital transformation in our country?
Okay,
That's
so everything that's going on Earth, everything that is going on the Earth is to create two distinctly different groups of people: those who are served and those who are the servers. What tends to happen is that those who are served are the best served by digital everything, right? And the people who are doing the serving kind of get left out of that. And I think that's where, if government has an opportunity to intervene into the lives of its people that it serves, it would make sure that people are not left behind. Now, that's one side. The other side is there are a lot of people who believe that they can create a subculture and economy that doesn't have to be premised upon this. And they can, if they're willing not to try and get the benefits of using digital information. They can. I know people right now who are growing gardens and who are making clothes, and they have deals and arrangements with each other that they produce what each other needs. And so nobody really needs any money. They don't need any digital money. They don't need any cash. All they need is what they purchase on their own, however they do that, to create what they promise to produce. There's going to always be that segment of people. So the question that digital transformers are going to have to ask is, at what point do they market ideas until you fall asleep, right? And we'll talk and we'll talk and we talk some more. And I value that oh, can I use this word in front of you? I value that what has created life has invested in me a way to speak to women in such a way. I actually talk about it. My friends don't understand. My men friends don't understand. I say I speak woman. But what has created my life has given me a way to speak women in a way that I can touch women where they feel, and they can take that and run with it and begin to work on developing what they want to develop for their personal and professional life.
Very
And
true.
you
Very well
too.
said.
I hope you set the world on fire with the things that you produce.
We have
Sure,
Sayogi Gaikwad and Sakshi Jain with us. Sakshi and Sayogi, are you interested in asking any question to Mr. Oscar Crawford? You can also type your question in the chat box. So
That would be
Shweta is
helpful.
also.
Do I have access to the chat box?
I will read out the question the moment they type if they have any queries.
Okay.
and look at the irony. The most of the audience right now we have are women.
Okay,
As
if that
sir
was a
was
question, I
speaking.
missed it. I'm sorry.
No, it wasn't a question. I was just saying, look at the irony that all the audience right now are here are women.
Too bad for the brothers that didn't show up.
You can go ahead, Samiksha Singh and Samiksha Patil, you can go ahead with the session. They are just listeners and maybe they are in
Yes.
some area where they cannot speak. So you
Probably.
can go ahead with the session.
Yes. So maybe we can, sir, do you have any conclusion with you ready, or should I share upon the key insights that I have taken up from the session?
Okay, I'm sorry. I must ask you to do it one more time because I don't want to mess this up.
I just said if you have some conclusion to give us to us right now, or should I proceed with the key takeaways that I have taken from the session?
Okay, I'm at your pleasure. Whatever you wish. If you want me to do that first, I'm fine with that.
Please,
Okay.
sir, you can.
So the privilege to speak to digital transformation is to affirm that it exists, that it is a virus. It is a virus that is going to continually exponentially multiply itself. And it's going to demand of us by the people who are its power brokers that we need it to survive. That will be a question people will have to resolve. In light of that, there are some things that we can glean from the 8%ers like Accenture. Accenture wants to rule the world, by the way. I mean, I'm clear about that's what they want to do. But there are some things that we can glean from them that are valuable. This total enterprise reinvention, I think that is a brilliant idea. It's nothing but human relations packaged in another set of words. It's an investment in people by pouring into people what they need to do their best for Accenture. I mean, I get what the objective for them is, but they're really quite good at doing this. If we could translate that into not just global conglomerates, but if we could translate that into like what Dr. Shubhi does at Atharva, it blows my mind, right? Because if there were other professionals who were as invested in getting to students what she's invested in getting to students, our world would change in a quarter of a century. So it is those kinds of things that have to be done that somebody's going to have to intentionally pick up and engage if we're going to develop at the level that we want to, at the level of the individual. The individual, and don't get tired of me using this word, the individual is going to have to wake up and be aware of what's going on. Back home where I come from, we talk about smelling the coffee. You got to be able to smell the coffee or smell the roses and know what you're smelling. You got to be able to know who you are, what is important, what your value system is, and what are you going to be doing that facilitates exercising it in a marketplace where you can be fruitful and multiply and profit. We got to need to know that. We need to know that. All of you and I, we have to know why we want to do what we want to do. If we don't know why we want to do what we want to do, guess what somebody's going to do? They're going to come up and say, I know exactly what you would be good at. And if we're immature and undeveloped, we will listen to that and we'll go do what they want us to do over against what we want to do. End of everything. I want to conclude with, and Dr. Shubhi can bear witness, this is not my first time saying this to an audience here. I said this 3 years ago.
Very true. Know your why. He has given a very big 3 good words. Know your why. And if we know why we are doing it, we will do it better, and we might not do it. If we know why we are doing things, we might stop certain things doing. because we are just copying things. We are doing things because people are doing, so we are doing. First we have to understand why we are doing. Is there any need of that? Does that help us? Or maybe 3 years from now, what will be its value? So is it a value based investment on our time? Whatever time we have, whatever we are doing, maybe it can be anything, maybe learning a tool or a technology. Why are we learning? So that is very important. And I'm really happy with the way Oscar is trying to conclude. I also want to add one line over here in the conclusion of the entire discussion, that digital transformation is though it is happening, and it is very fruitful also, because then there comes e-governance and transparency comes. And if we talk about blockchain, then there is time stamping, and then there are blocks which are locked by the team, and so many things have come up. But with every little digital transformation, some digital carbon footprints are also coming up, where there is no accountability. And here, if we see this live session which we are doing, this is also giving its digital impression, which we call digital carbon footprints. We talk about plastic, that plastic has carbon footprints, or we talk about let's say some garbage which is not recycled. But this digital transformation and this digital carbon footprint is not visible to anyone. And the next thing is, it's not accountable. Whose carbon? This carbon which is coming, which is there in India, might cross China, Pakistan, any country. Then whose carbon? There is no airport in between to check you, or maybe a particular system where they will say, this is your carbon, keep it up to you. We can't do it. If we see Antarctica, that the biggest glacier has started melting. Why? Are we able to understand why this is happening? Why this suddenly this heat is there? Because there is so much of servers which are burning the fuel in the background. We first we have to ask, are servers green servers? Are they working on the solar panels or the wind turbines, or they are still fueled by the carbon, the oil? So then only we come to know that the entire digital transformation which is happening, is it helping the community in long run or not? There can be immediate advantage of it. Maybe you can get some profit, some benefit, and something is added in your account, in your bank account. But the carbon that we are releasing, like there was COP28 in Dubai. I was just going through the entire conference details. So I got to know that we are discussing things over there. But after that, what is the outcome of that conference? How many people are benefited out of that? How many people are actually touched after that discussion? How many people in our country are benefited out of that COP28 outcomes? How much carbon will we stop? Or what policies will be there where we will try to stop the carbon to some extent? Still, we have to think of our ways of doing things on computer. When it is digital transformation, earlier we used to type in MS Word and then paste it in the text area and disconnect the internet, because we used to get just 1 hour internet. Now it is like the moment we have our email or mailbox open, we type mail there for hours. And when we are typing the mail, the algorithm is running in the background. When the algorithm is running, definitely the servers are on. And when the servers are on, how they are working? They are working on the fuel, which means carbon is burning. If Microsoft is taking servers in the Pacific Ocean to have natural coolants, that is the amount of labor they are doing. Microsoft is taking servers in the Pacific Ocean to have natural coolants. That is the amount of labor they are doing. They are trying to bring a natural cooling system, taking their servers in the Pacific Ocean. Servers, which means if we are connected live, this entire data is streaming through the Pacific Ocean and coming back to us. And that is why there was a delay or a lag. So this entire data, which is taking a whole round of the planet and then coming back to us, then we have to ask ourselves, are we talking sense? Are we talking sense on, let's say, social media or YouTube or WhatsApp, or are we using the tools sensibly? Are we using the internet sensibly? We have internet. India is having the maximum population. Just imagine how many users are there, how many hours you charge your mobile, how many minutes you spend on your mobile. My last to last research paper, which was selected for publication, was on the digital carbon footprints and a direct impact of digital carbon on the global warming. So that is one more aspect that we have to always talk whenever we talk about the advantage of digital transformation, because this is a huge side effect which is not visible.
Of course it is. I have refused to have a car for the last maybe 8 years because that is something I can control. I can control whether I use a car or not. And the city that I live in provides such a good transportation system that I can facilitate getting anywhere I need to go. Now, if I need to drive someplace, I can always rent a car, right? But I have given up having a car because that is my contribution to this. And the more of us who will do what we can do, the more we can help. But it's difficult to compete with industrial centers who are just clogging up the air with poison and clogging up the waters with poison. And when we learn that in the next 25 years, there'll be more plastic in the ocean than fish, I mean, that's an insurmountable problem that has to be dealt with. Now, I want to tell you guys one last thing before I stop. I promised Dr. Shubhi if she should see fit that I have something to offer a year from now when things like this come up, I'm coming there to do whatever she asked me to do, because I'm losing the real benefit of engaging you because I'm not there with you. And so that's my commitment to you a year from now, is I am going to be there where you are.
Thank you so much, and we are really eager to see you. And definitely Samiksha Patil and Samiksha Singh will pass out, but we will invite them. Whenever you are there, we will definitely invite them to host the show so that we all can see all of us together in the offline mode, and we can actually enjoy the offline mode of this session. And we are really looking for your visit to India.
I'm looking
No
forward
more
to it.
carbon footprints. I said no more carbon footprints.
I don't have anything else to contribute. I mean, I talked to you about the plan that I think the two of you might could spearhead or get people talking about. But that's the last thing I would say. Invest a little time in taking a look at that and seeing the practicality of implementing it. I believe it has potential for India. I believe it has potential for the world. And what does Dr. Shubhi ask in her book? Why not India?
Yes. By outside. So, sir, you were saying something in the conclusion note that you always say, and Shubhi ma'am might relate. You stopped at that point. So I really am eager to listen to that. Yes, if you could recollect.
Okay, are you taking me back to someplace I didn't finish? Okay.
Yes.
Tell me again.
So you were saying something in the conclusion note that you always say this, and Shubhi ma'am will relate to it because she listened to you and most of the time. So there you were there, and yes. So I would like to listen to it if you remember that.
Okay. I'm really sorry I'm not getting it all. Dr. Shubhi, can you pick it up and make sure I hear what she said?
She's saying that you said something, and then you said that Shubhi ma'am will relate to this, to your thoughts. So she stopped there and she wanted to know what you wanted to say, which I will also resonate with you, and I will also echo the same. That's what she's trying to know from you.
Okay, let me confess something to you here. When I'm trying to make sure to get out everything that I need to get out when I'm speaking to a group, it may have been hot and heavy in my mind at the moment, but some distance later, I would have to really sit and meditate with myself to realize where I was. So if I think about that, I'll communicate with Dr. Shubhi and then she'll get it to you. How's that? And
Sure,
I want to offer this if it's appropriate. Any of you can communicate with me that Dr. Shubhi approves of communicating with me. I'm very open to you, and I'll have those conversations with you as much as you'd like to.
That's great, sir. So I would like to point out some of the key words or key takeaways that I've taken from here. So first thing is don't share ideas. Like you said, in the digital transformation, the key is to not share what new you have with you. And you even said that digitalization was born long back. It was born like in 80s, and you wrote the magazine, like a digital magazine existed in 80s and 90s. So these, again, you talked about how farmers could be more educated and that can help transform India and be the global leader very soon. And always, it is a pleasure to hear Shubhi ma'am when she says about carbon footprints. It is an eye opener. Every time she speaks about it, it is an eye opener. And she even mentioned that marrying a tech will be helpful. Like if you are thorough with one technology, totally, it will be helpful even in the future. So these are some key takeaways that I took from both of you. And we are very much glad, sir, that you joined us and you are always available whenever we ask for it. Thank you so much, Asif sir. And yes, I would like to thank our Executive President, Shri Sunil Rane sir, of Atharva Group of Institute. Because of him, everything is possible. So, and a big thank you to Dr. Shubhi Lall Agarwal, and definitely the biggest thanks to our keynote speaker, Dr. Mr. Oscar. Yes.
I'm grateful to all of you, and I appreciate the conversation I got to have with you.
I also want to thank few people. First of all, I want to thank Shri Sunil Rane sir, Executive President, Atharva Group of Institutes, for giving us this opportunity to connect with the intellectual capital across the globe. He always talks about virtual lectures and think beyond the campus, go stretch yourself and think of people who are not in the campus, and then you can connect. So I really, those his words are very motivating, and that is always there in my mind, and I keep on thinking and trying to connect more and more people with students. Then I also want to thank Mr. Oscar Crawford for his valuable time, and definitely the way I speak to him in WhatsApp and the way he responds, like his turnaround time is in seconds. So it is like sometimes when I'm not able to reply to him and he's waiting for my revert, I really feel very sorry for him that I kept him waiting for things. But he has been a wonderful person in this campus in the online mode, and for the last 3 years he's connected with us, and he has delivered more than 5 sessions in online mode, and he has also connected on Google Meet with my team for live demos earlier. So that is how he served his services to Atharva Institute of Management Studies, and I really appreciate, and I'm looking for a long-term relationship with Mr. Oscar so that he can come to India and visit our campus in person, and then we can listen to him and his valuable words.
Thank you.
I also thank our director, Dr. D. Henry. He is a big-time researcher in our campus, and he's also director for AIMS, Mumbai. And he is always ready to listen to the talks, and he's always appreciating. He has even asked me to increase the frequency of IT talks as earlier it was. And he is a big-time motivation for me, where he's asking me, Madam, what is happening in the next episode? What are your plans? So that is you can say it is a very big motivation for me, that I'm always, my calendar is up to date, and that reminder comes from my director as well, that who is next, whom we are hearing today. So I really thank him. And again, I cannot end this conversation if I don't thank Samiksha Singh and Samiksha Patil, because mainly they are from the marketing background, but they had a lot of curiosity to host IT talks, and they wanted to connect with people live across the globe. And in the previous sessions, they were always attending and listening to the show, like the Sahayogi, Sakshi, and Shruti are listening to the session, and Sushmita is also there. The same way they used to listen to the session, put their comments, and they used to enjoy it. And the amount of excitement they had for last 3 days and 4 days when they were trying to connect, they had multiple accounts, but somehow they could not go live. But still, I can see that pleasing smile on their face, that which shows that they are successful today. And it is just after 1 hour we'll post it on IT Talks live show, so everyone can watch us live. So a big thanks to them, and you are cordially invited for the next episode to listen to Miss Rachna Bhattacharya from Chicago, and they are the host for the same show. So I really appreciate their effort and the teamwork they do with me, and they really make me feel proud. And then I want to thank all the faculty members, Mr. Vaibhav Patil, who joined, Dr. Swati Agarwal, who joined here and watched the event in their busy hours. They are working, and they always look for this event and try to give me the honest feedback and always motivate me to bring some more connects. And I really thank the faculty members who motivate me for this event. So with this thank note, I think I am through with my thanks note, and I again invite Mr. Oscar Crawford to join the next episode, maybe as a listener, where Rachna Bhattacharya is joining, and you can just listen to her. She is from Pacific, Chicago, and she will be talking about the digital marketing and artificial intelligence. Over to you, Samiksha.
I think you have thanked us a lot, and we thank you. And let's end the session here. Thank you so much, sir, and we are hoping to see you soon offline. Bye. Thank you.